Hey folks, Baba here. Just making a short video. I mentioned in episode 2 of this Revitalized Zen YouTube series, I mentioned that in the early of 2018, so it's 7 years ago, I was invited to become a new teacher of UK, Ireland based Buddhist group, a Zen group, because their previous teacher has passed away 2 years before and they needed a new teacher. So I went over to teach them. First gave an awakening intensive and then taught my first week-long retreat in UK, and after that they invited me to become their new teacher, and I did. And I mentioned in the previous video in episode number 2 that this Sangha was about maybe 35 people, roughly. And, this Sangha had existed for, I'm not sure, maybe like 15 or 20 years. But like a solid chunk of time. It had been there and they had been practicing Zen practices as well as Hinayana or Theravada practices. And out of those 35 people, like I mentioned, only two had awakened. Only two people had awakened, and I now actually remember that one of those two was this gentleman who attended non-duality teachings. So he had actually awakened not through his Zen practice, but through this non-duality practices, self-inquiry or something like that. So there was only one lady, don't remember her name anymore, but she had awakened in that through that Zen practice. So one person out of 35, which is not like after long time of practice, it simply isn't how it's supposed to be. And then when I took over of teaching that group, in 2 months, so if it was 34 out of 35 who hadn't yet awakened, it was 32 of those people who got awakened through the technique called two-part formula that I'm linking here below and which I've mentioned in Revitalized Zen texts in the blog and in the 2 videos that I've published so far. So two-part formula practically and actually generated the first Kensho, first awakening experience within 2 months from that point on. In 2 months. So, and of course, that was just the first one, and then, we started practicing post-awakening, post-first Kensho practices for the following years, and, it just kept popping like popcorn. And well, this is just something that I wanted to say, give like a concrete example what practices that actually are addressing the mechanism of selfing and delusion, what they're capable of. So this is something that I have discussed a lot during my years of being a Dharma teacher. It's something that I've analyzed a lot, which is something that not many teachers do. Most teachers do not do this, though they should, because Shakyamuni Buddha told us to do that. But we should always, as teachers, as practitioners, as people who are bodhisattvas, wanting to bring awakening, lasting peace, happiness, and clarity of mind to all beings, we should definitely keep analyzing the practices and methods that we are following, and then try to better them when we see that something isn't working. So, this is a simple example from my path as a teacher, having been invited to teach this Zen group that was very fixed in their views, very fixed and limited with their practical application, and then it all changed and turned round in 2 short months when I helped each of them one by one to get to the first Kensho. And just like it's been said by many great masters, it's through that awakening, through that first Kensho, where you put your feet onto the path of becoming a Buddha. It simply is like that. So please to take a look of the link below. It's still the two-part formula. I have taught it for many years in Amrita Mandala, which is the other side of my work, which is esoteric, tantric practice. So I don't have a website for Revitalized Zen at this point, but it will be after some time. But that's why, the instruction, the two-part formula, the link is to the Amrita Mandala website. So if you see some tantric things there that scare you off, don't be bothered. Just focus on the task at hand. Okay? Have a nice day and thank you for listening. See you later. Bye.